Today, we're diving into a really fascinating piece of ritual history, one that stretches back for millennia and connects some of the most mysterious groups you can think of.
I know, it sounds like something straight out of a fantasy novel, right? But what if I told you that a very specific kind of embrace, a sacred choreography really, shows up again and again in secret societies and ancient religions, all with the same incredible promise to conquer death itself?
This is what we're talking about today, the 5 points of fellowship. And, this is no ordinary hug. It's a super precise alignment of the body, a physical gesture that some have even called a choreography of resurrection. So where in the world does this strange and powerful ritual actually come from?
Our journey is going to start with this secret embrace. We're going to trace its path through history to figure out how 5 simple points of contact could possibly carry such a profound, world-altering promise. So let's start in a place many of you might be familiar with, the mysterious world of the Freemasons, and a legend that sits at the absolute heart of their rituals.
At the core of the Masonic ritual is this central drama. It's a reenactment of the murder of Hiram Abiff, the legendary architect of Solomon's Temple. The person going through the ritual symbolically becomes Hiram, lying in a makeshift grave, just waiting to be raised.
But here's the crucial part. At first, it doesn't work. The story goes that when they try to pull him up, the flesh literally sloughs off his bones. It's this incredibly powerful, graphic symbol that shows that ordinary strength, or, lower levels of knowledge, are completely powerless against death.
It's only by using a very specific grip, what they call the lion's grip, that Hiram can be raised. And when he is, he's brought into this exact formation, the 5 points of fellowship. Now, for the Masons, this becomes a kind of social contract, a physical pledge of mutual support. Each point of contact represents a moral duty to one another.
So, this all seems like a pretty complete, self-contained story. But what if it isn't? What if the Masonic ritual is just one chapter in a much, much older book? I mean, where did they get this incredibly specific choreography? To find the source, we have to travel way back, thousands of years, to the funerary rites of ancient Egypt. Our guide for this leg of the journey is the scholar Hugh Nibley. And this is where the story gets really wild. Okay, just look at this. On the left, you've got the Masonic lion's grip. On the right, an almost identical grip from Egyptian tomb reliefs. It was used by priests to raise the dead and literally transmit the Ka, the divine life force, back into the body. The parallel is it's absolutely stunning. And it wasn't just the grip. The Egyptians had their own version of the 5 points. They called it the embrace of Osiris. This wasn't just a symbol of comfort. They believed it was the literal mechanism of resurrection, the divine act where a god physically embraced the deceased, knitting their bones back together and making them one with the divine, a true at-one-ment.
So this is Nibley's big theory. He argued that the Masonic ritual wasn't just invented in the 1700s. No, he said it was a broken, fragmented piece of a much more ancient and complete ritual, an echo of the sacred endowment given to the Pharaohs to guarantee their passage into eternal life.
So we have the Masons and we have the Egyptians, but how did these ideas travel across thousands of years? Well, the bridge might just be found in the mystical world of the early Gnostics, who had their own ideas about cosmic security.
For the Gnostics, the afterlife was a journey, this dangerous ascent through different celestial levels, and each one had a gatekeeper. To get past them, you couldn't just be a good person. You needed to know the codes, the passwords, and you had to deliver them in the exact correct physical stance. You can actually understand this Gnostic system in really modern terms. Think of it like a kind of spiritual multi-factor authentication. Seriously, you needed something you possessed, that's the token or the grip. You needed to be in a certain physical state, that's the stance. And you needed something you knew, the secret password. You needed all 3 to get past the guardians.
And the embrace itself had a super practical function. By getting mouth to ear, you created a closed circuit. It was basically a privacy shield, making sure that the sacred password couldn't be overheard by any malevolent spirits who might try to block your path. It's like a form of biological encryption.
Okay, so we've traveled from Masonic lodges to Egyptian tombs to Gnostic heavens. Let's bring it all together and synthesize what this sacred touch, this sacred haptic, truly means across all these different traditions. It really seems to operate on 3 distinct but totally interconnected levels of meaning.
First up is the social level, which we saw most clearly with the Masons. You could call this the ethics of proximity.
It's a physical promise to be there for your brother, to support them, to keep their secrets, to be close enough to feel their heartbeat and whisper counsel. It's all about human connection.
The second level is ritual. This is what we see in the Gnostic tradition. This is the geometry of resurrection. Here, the body becomes an instrument. Those specific points of contact are like tuning forks, aligning the soul to a celestial frequency and encrypting it for a safe trip through the cosmos.
And finally, we have the mystical level, the highest meaning, which takes us all the way back to ancient Egypt. This is the grand at-one-ment. This is the moment the embrace dissolves the boundary between the self and the divine. The grip that raises you is revealed to be the hand of God, reaching out to make you one.
Across all three of these levels, we find one profound, unifying truth. Whether it's the connection between two people or the connection between a person and the divine, it seems that connection itself is the engine of life and rebirth.
And that leaves us with a final thought. We live in a world of digital distance, a world that is becoming more and more untouched. So what can we, today, learn from an ancient ritual that insists the most profound truths can only be transmitted through a sacred physical embrace? It's definitely something to think about.